time, yeah. Making a difference, one cup at a time. Tea time, yeah. This is tea time, yeah. Making a difference, one cup at a time. Tea time, yeah. So be sure to grab your tea, grab a seat, and tune in to Miss Liz. Tea time. Making a difference, one cup at a time. Tea time, yeah. Tea time.
Well, welcome. We are here evening tea time. That's right. We have done 3 shows today. Again, we have done it. But tonight I have the incredible DC Gomez that is back in studio with me. She was here last year in season 3. So we're going to have some updates. We're going to have some giggles. We're going to have all of that good stuff going on with DC. She's written some incredible new books. So let's talk about that. Then she's got a shop going on. We're going to be talking about that. And we're going to be talking about a lot of things. And we're going to get a new tea from DC tonight. So we're going to talk all about all those goodies. But before we get started, let's do the disclaimer. And then I'm going to do a quick bio intro. And then I'm going to get DC in and we're going to spill some good old TEA with all of you tonight on Tea Time. Disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz myself is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment, please grant StreamYard permission to see your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that the content brought forward for any Tea Times hosted by myself, Miss Liz, is always brought forward in good faith. However, may bring forward dialogues and opinions that are not representative of my platform. The facts and information are perceived to be accurate at the given time of airing. All Tea Time guests and audience participants are responsible for using their good judgment in taking any action that may relate to the discussion. The content brought forward may include discussions for some where they may be emotionally at risk. It is significant to know that this show is engaging in discussion forums only to offer and inspire awareness and connection and is not providing therapeutical advice. If you have any questions about the disclaimer or the panelist discussion, you may freely contact me, Miss Liz, through my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com. Moving forward, should you choose to voluntarily participate in tonight's show in any aspect, I myself, Miss Liz, welcomes you. And should you decide that tonight's show is not made for you, I respect that and I will see you at a later show at a later time. And again, all shows this year are on Thursdays unless they are rescheduled. So please tune in Thursdays. We have 3 shows going on this year. Morning, afternoon, and evening. So now let me get into DC Gomez. Who is DC? Well, DC is an award-winning USA Today Bestselling Author, podcaster, motivational speaker, and coach. Born in Dominican Republic, she grew up in Salem, Massachusetts. DC studied film and television at New York University. After college, she joined the U.S. Army and proudly served for 4 years. DC has a master's degree in science administration from the Central Michigan University, as well as the Master in Adult Education from Texas A&M. For more on DC, check out Mrs.'s Facebook page. I want to get into this tea time. I want to get DC in here, and I want to get some updates and all that good stuff. So let's get her in here. Welcome, DC. It is a pleasure to see you again.
It is so much fun to be here with you. Thank you for having me, Miss Liz. How are you?
I am awesome. And it is amazing to have returning guests because that means I'm doing something right and people like coming back for tea. So, DC, what has happened since we've seen each other? I think we were together in October last year, were we not?
I think so. Yeah, it's been that long.
right?
Yes, it's kind of crazy. It's been busy but fun. I think that's the best way to looking at it. It's definitely been busy. Updates on this part. I've been working and kind of trying to doing a lot of housekeeping. And that's kind of been one of those very much 2023 is going to be my exploratory year. I want to be able to take this year to truly kind of assess where I'm at in my career. What am I doing? What am I keeping? What's going? What's coming? So it's been a really much more transformative. I think that's my word just for this year. Where am I taking my world with it? So that's some of the things people are going to be seeing a lot. Is some changes in terms of what I bring. I had Facebook groups that are getting closed. I have things that I'm trying. I think I'm playing with TikTok again. So it's been very interesting.
Oh, she's on TikTok.
I am.
I gotta get you on TikTok, girl.
This week has been the week of every single filter getting me. I was like, this is why I get nothing done, because I'm playing with bold filters and anime filters. Like, why am I doing this to myself? So if anybody on TikTok understands that, you just go down this rabbit hole and you're like, how am I going to get out? So yes.
Yeah, TikTok kind of sucks us in, right? Especially
Very much
with
so.
those filters, and we kind of get carried away and we spend hours, and then we're like, oh my goodness, I spent like half the day doing this stuff. Like,
I was supposed to be doing something else, and here I am. Okay.
so you have two incredible new books that have come out. So if you'd like to share a little bit about those books, let's start with The Trader.
So Trader is book 2 in the Order of the Assassin series. So, and this is one of those books that, how do I explain it? If you like urban fantasy with an attitude, I think that's the best one to looking at it. Most of my books tend to be very standalone, even if they're part of a series. This one, you actually have to read the first one to kind of pick it up and go for it, because it introduces you to Eric and Sasha. And they're in the middle of kind of like, who did it? This is kind of their world. The Order has been betrayed, so the Order of Witches has been betrayed back in the intern diary world. So Eric's picking up, and he's supposed to figure this out. He's supposed to find the assassin, and he's supposed to looking for this traitor. But everybody just seems to be guilty. So everybody, they're going like, who do you trust? Who do you believe? Everybody has a secret. Everybody has something going on. So this book's a lot of fun. It takes us home. So for anybody who doesn't know, I'm from Salem. So years ago, I promised my mother that I was going to do a book that took place in Salem. And then she asked, when is that book coming? I was like, oh, yeah, and about that. So this book takes place in Salem, Massachusetts. So it's a lot of fun.
So she finally got her book.
Oh, she did. She did. So we did lots of research. I went home last year specifically to look for places. So then I was like, hey, you should come with me. So we walked around town for hours so I could take pictures, so I can kind of get familiar. I haven't been home in such a long time, so I wanted to make sure that I got the streets correct, that I look at the shops, and I was able to truly get the look that I was looking for.
So when did you go back home? Must have been after our tea time, because I don't remember you saying you were going home.
I've been home a couple of times. I went home for a wedding recently. So I went home for literally just to do some research, and then realizing that it is very cold in Massachusetts. So I don't know how you do in Canada. Because I'm like, I am definitely a Texas girl. Like, I am freezing all the time. So being home in January, I was like, oh, God, it's cold.
Yeah, and the weather is just crazy. Like, we have another storm. We had grass this morning, and now we got snow again. It's like, does it ever end? Like, yeah.
So I understand.
So let's get into The Hitman. How did that come about?
So Hitman is book 1. So that's kind of the fun part. So Hitman is a short novella to introduce this fun little couple. And I can kind of give you, originally Hitman was part of an anthology. So I went to Literacy Love Savannah that takes place in the summer. And they have an anthology. And the anthology is called Soup Porn, because everybody has to go to this soup store. So I was like, what am I going to do? Like, how do I bring this up? And it became kind of interesting because Eric has been a side character in the Intern Diaries. And there's something about Eric that is just sexy and kind of dangerous and kind of dark. And I can tell you that as people read it, they're like, oh my God, I knew it. He had a crush on ISIS. And I was like, you did? Because I didn't. Like, for 8 books, Eric would never talk to me. I don't know if that makes any sense. Everybody's like, yeah, this is the author mind coming to play. It was very much, he's a fun character. He's very, very sexy. He's hot. He has these things. But he's just made a whole bunch of crazy choices when it came to his woman selection. So this was the book to figure it out all out. You get an insight into Eric's being, he looks like he's young in his 20s, 30s. Eric happens to be like 174. So you find out a lot more about him and why he makes his decisions. And this is that book of really figuring it out, that he is literally a really good assassin and he hates it. And that's not what he said. He was on a mission to save his people and kind of got stuck in this role that he doesn't like and doesn't know how to get out. So now he's just kind of going through the motions. So The Hitman is an introduction to the series that is really, really fun and sexy. One of my favorite quotes somebody asked is like, so we're going to see more heat from DC? I was like, no, sorry.
This is as hot as it's going to get.
This is it. Because that's not really what I normally write. But this is when you realize that your characters dictate the story. It's not really you. Because it's really what comes out when you're thinking of Eric. You know, there's something about him that comes through the page that I can't describe. But I don't think any of my other characters have this much. There's not this radiating sex appeal as Eric has that people can kind of expect.
Yeah, because I think the last time you were on Tea Time, you worked with the Spooky collection, did you not?
We talked about a lot of stuff last time, I think. So yes.
Yeah, because I bought one of the Spooky books for my step granddaughter and that for Christmas. So that came in. So I don't know how she feels about it because she hasn't read it yet.
Oh.
But I'll have to let you know how she feels about that one. But like you said, this is a different way of writing for you because you wrote the Spooky books, right?
Well, I have children's books. So I think you got Charlie's Fables for them. I think you got very young. So I have young books. I have picture books to Charlie's Fables. So it's very much teaching little ones how to get their own self-esteem and figuring out their talents. So you get Charlie's Fables out of that. I do young adults. So my intern diaries can go all the way down to, I want to say, high school. So you can have a really good young adult novels and have a blast. This one definitely has much more of the hints of sexuality. That's something that you're not going to see in the intern diaries. So it's very much out there. So it's that transition from, it's still the same universe and anybody can pick it up. There's still very fade to black. You're not going to get graphic. It's just, that's one thing that's fairly consistent in the series. But it's out there. So you get to feel a little bit more heat than you normally would from most of my other books.
Yeah, and the covers are way different too.
I have a new cover designer, so if anybody's looking for one, Christine Girardi is amazing. And one of the things you talk about, you know, as you get much more comfortable in your craft, you realize what is selling. And the covers are very much urban fantasy. I think before my old ones were screaming more horror. So everybody will ask me, it's like, are they scary? I was like, not really scary. I do a lot of dark humor, so you wouldn't get that suspenseful horror element that most people expect. We have zombies, you have shifters, you have all these elements that can definitely qualify in the horror world, but I'm too quirky to make it scary. just gonna put it out there. I'm way too quirky to make it scary. So it is a whole different way of looking at it. So these ones definitely say urban fantasy. So when you see them, you get the action out of the first time. You get the whole, okay, there's a whole bunch of magic. There's not going to be the gore that you're going to expect from some other books. So it kind of gives it a little bit more flavor of what to expect from my books.
Well, it's almost like a theme today with all of my guests, romance and mystery and magic. So I think everyone is just aligning today. Like today is just like boom, boom, boom. Everyone has actually come in because you're all authors and you all have used the same similar words during the conversation today. So it's really amazing how it all falls into place. And I remember when we talked the last time that we talked about the quirkiness and the dark humor and all of that. So has it gotten darker?
Probably more quirky. I think darker is not the case. Another book that came out last year in May was A Desperate Cat Lady. And so that one doesn't have any magic, but it's definitely straight fiction. Almost a cozy mystery. I can give you that. It has that taste of cozy mystery. You know it's going to end up with a happy ending if you want to looking at it that way. But I have my arms dealer terms. I have my cat lady terms arms dealer. It happens to trip over a dead body. So it goes down. I know. It goes down that road of like, how bad can this world get? And she's trying to still be an arms dealer illegally, of course. You know, in her mind, it's like, well, Walmart sells guns. I should be able to sell guns. Like, come on, Angela. Really? So yes, does it get darker? Maybe a little. I come with disclaimers. A little. There's definitely
just a little.
Just a little.
So DC, I want to get into our tea. Last year you gave me a strong tea, but I want to see what kind of tea you have for 2023. So what words are you giving me tonight?
We're definitely in the transformative stage. So T is for transformative. I'm still very eclectic, and I think this year is very animated. Everything I'm looking for is to definitely fit that personality. I'm looking to be able to be very authentic to myself. So usually those things kind of play with each other and to have a lot of fun. I realized for a lot of my years of my career, I've taken myself and my work too seriously. So one of the things that I did for anybody who's watching is you can go check out my new bio on Amazon. And I sent it to one of my writing partners. Like, I did it. I pulled the trigger. I finally went ahead and did it. And it's as quirky as I am and absolutely hysterical. So it should be updating hopefully by now. So yes, the bio kind of shows you an idea of like, okay, this is what you can expect from DC. It's a much more present, authentic, very animated, quirky kind of girl.
Yeah, because I did find you on Amazon Live. So let's talk about that a little bit because I didn't even know that they had the lives there.
So Amazon has what I'm calling modern day QVC. So for anybody who's not familiar, is the selling shows, right? So Amazon, if you've been watching it, they do lots of lives. So you can go and sell everything that Amazon has. That's kind of what an Amazon influencer does. So because I'm the kid that presses buttons, let me just put it out there. So in 21, actually it's been that long, oh my God. So in 21, I'm an Amazon junkie, let's just say it. And scrolling through Amazon, looking at things, and it was like, what is that? Like, why is all these people talking to me? Why are you live on Amazon? And it had a button. It's like, so I went down the rabbit. I was like, do you want to be an influencer? I'm like, I don't know. Do I want to be an influencer? So I pressed the buttons. Lo and behold, they said yes. And I was like, oh God, like, what do I do now? Like, so there's no instruction manuals. I was like, oh, okay. So originally I was like, oh, I can do this. I can sell stuff related to books. And after a while, I was like, I can't do this. This is not a lot of fun. I got other things to do. I brainstormed with one of my author friends, and I was like, what do you think if I did an interview show, almost like my podcast, but on Amazon? And as long as you have your books there, we can celebrate it. And she's like, I'll do it with you. And I was like, what? So it is very much is the book corner, and its brand new books are out within 90 days. So you get to meet authors that have new books coming out. It is super fun. It has been such a wild ride. It has been all sorts of this spectrum of people that have come on this show. And as long as your show's on Amazon, we'll talk about it. So I get to hang out, post your show, be very, very super quirky. This is definitely me at a full level quirk. This is absolutely animated. So it's been kind of fun.
Well, I like how you said go down the rabbit hole, right? Because you just never know if you don't try. Because I was checking it out before we came live, and I was like, oh, I've never seen this before. And I like how crisp and clean it is. And that it's really, really clean and professional looking. Like it's Amazon, right? So
the best part about it is that it's live. So if you're joining during a live, you can ask questions. So there's an entire question chat in there. You can actually buy the books right there. So it gives authors an opportunity to highlight who they are. We get to honestly have a lovely conversation, and then they can buy the books. I'm like, this is a win-win for everyone.
Oh, well, that's really cool. Yeah, I'm going to have to check out some more later. Like when I do my research on you guys, I'm just like, oh, what can I find new that I haven't already gotten out there? And I was like, I found that you have a store that I believe you launched it today.
It's official today. Yes, I have been playing with this thing. So confessions, opening up an Etsy store is terrifying. I don't even know how everybody does it. Because it's one of those questions, especially as an author, it's like, can I pull this off? Can I maintain this? What is the store going to have? And I always wanted to be able to have merchandise through myself. So I was doing merchandise through Amazon. So I'm also an Amazon merchant. But there's all these little innuendos that comes with Amazon. If they think you're not using the proper copyright, your stores can get banned. So I was like, after a horrible, crazy experience with them, I was like, I can't take a chance. I felt very much wishy-washy. So finally I took a leap. So I have, because I'm shipping books directly, so you can buy autographed books. Right now the books that you can get is the 5 intern diary. So we're slowly uploading books because now I'm having to keep an entire inventory in my house. I was like, oh God, that was not part of the plan. But the merchandise is so much fun. I think today was the day that I'm like, okay, we're going to announce it. I think I'm ready. There's like 23 different items you can pick out of the store. And literally 16 of them happen to be merchandise, which is really, really fun. everything from shoes to sweaters to like puzzles. So I was like, you can get a Constantine puzzle. I know.
Oh, well, look at that, a puzzle.
You can get a puzzle. It is so amazing. Like my mom, because I was like, hey, I need you to take a look at this. And she goes, there's a puzzle. I was like, yes. Can you look? It's like, I'm buying the puzzle. I was like, that's great, Mom. But can you? Okay. So she was gone. I was like,
I lost her, the puzzle.
I did. I was like, did you look at anything else? And she goes, no, you have a puzzle. I was like, well, I need somebody else to kind of look at this before you. So I also have candles, and I wish I would have thought about it because I would have brought them with me because they're adorable. I had commissioned art last year for my characters. So it has the 4 horsemen. So you got death, pestilence, and war. So I made these candles because the art is so cute, but it literally says death. And I was like, huh, that's interesting. So I'm asking people, it's like, yes, you. And my best friend's like, yes, I don't know if I want the essence of pestilence in my house. I was like, you know, when you say it that way, it does sound kind of like harsh. So I think my campaign would be for Valentine's, you know, for every single person that has let you down, send them some death.
I love it.
Why not?
I thought you were going to say Halloween, but I was like, oh my God, I love how you did that. You went down to the Valentine's.
This is so much better. Or, you know, Christmas, and like all the people that have let you down, here's some more. I'm thinking about you. You know, you can send them some payment in the mail. Feel amazing.
Right?
But they're super cute. They're super exciting. And actually, I think my sister-in-law, because I'm having people like, I need you to look at this and tell me what you think. And unfortunately, because it's still the store, everybody gets down their own little, like, what does this smell like? I was like, well, the essence of death smells like comfort breaks. And she's like, thanks. I was like, still a candle. Like, come on now.
I love how you changed it right up. Like, you know, because Valentine's Day is hard for some of us, right? It's not all about love. It's about like, oh my God, heartbreak, right? That broken heart. And
can you honestly imagine if I would have thought about it sooner, but it takes a while to get everything prepped. I should have launched on Valentine's Day and literally, but yes, if you see a commercial that says, you know, for all these people that have left you, please send them some pestilence. Here's your candle. So Valentine's going to be a little dark this year, next year.
Well, you just never know, right? And there's anniversaries, there's birthdays, there's ways.
For all these people that have let you down, I'm thinking about you.
Yeah.
So, and usually because they look really cute until you really look at the title, because, you know, they're all very human. They look, I'm like, oh, that's so cute. And then you read the top, you're like, it says war. I was like, I know, but he's super cute. They're like, it says famine. I was like, what does famine smell like? I was like, vanilla bean. I don't know. Like, you got three essence. Like, pick one. So, yes.
So are you going to do like switch ups during the holiday seasons? Like, are you going to bring in more items, more merchandise? How's that going to work?
It's becoming an addiction because I'm having way too much fun. Because I actually got to design sneakers today, in case you're wondering. I know. So I'm the little kid. Did I mention it? Completely like spastic? This is my new nickname. It's like spastic has been the day. So I literally found, and they look almost like Converse, like low flat. They're super cute. And they're red because I was trying to match something. So as I'm playing with this, it has little like Reapers on the back. So you get little Reapers on the back. And I have a Reaper shirt because the universe is Reaper's ink. So my friend's like, you need a red bag to go with that. I was like, oh my God. So can you imagine walking down the street with your red shirt, red shoes, and a bag? All say Reapers. So she's like, you need to buy it all. I was like, I wasn't planning to buy it myself. But okay.
Well, that's it, right? When you start a store, you're like, oh, well, I can buy that. I could buy that. You know?
You go down these holes and you're going, I might need to. So, yeah, so we're checking out the shoes to see really how they feel like. So I can kind of explain to people they can go rock their own Reaper's red shoes. They're pretty bright. So it's pretty fun.
Well, that's
so I keep
cool.
My goal is usually I would like to be able to add at least 2 to 3 different items every month. So you definitely can have a whole different collection.
Oh, so then if they go check it out, then they can say, oh, she did add something new, right?
I have a Constantine for President t-shirt in there. So so much fun. So one of my characters happens to be a talking cat named Constantine.
Yeah, I remember Constantine.
So Constantine and my sister-in-law, Kathleen, actually designed this cat. He's like looking really official, and it's like Constantine for president. That's pretty much what the t-shirt is. And I had made some previously. When I go to an event, I had them already made up. I was rocking it this week, and then like one of my readers was like, oh my God, where did you get that shirt? And I was like, I had this for a while. Like, I need one. So then I had to make one for them, and I had to send them a message like, Constantine is out. Like literally, I think within 10 minutes they have bought a shirt because they needed a Constantine. So I'm taking suggestions. So if anybody wants something special that deals with my characters, let me know. We can make it happen.
Awesome. And I think it's really cool that you're using your characters in the book because it actually opens that door of understanding the characters as well, right?
It gives you something to make it tangible. I think that's one of the fun things about having bookware and having book merchandise is that it makes it very real and you get to bring this to life and truly get to experience it. And it's kind of interesting because I think once we fall in love with a book, you want to think about it all the time. And if you can have merchandise that goes with it, a lot of the things that right now in the store is very Reaper central because that's kind of what the books are being highlighted. So you're going to be seeing a little bit more Cat Lady. So the poster's back there. So Cat Lady's going to have a few more stuff. We're going to have some t-shirts as well and kind of have some fun. And it just seems to have so many different things that I can play with. I was like, there's options and there's colors and there's t-shirts and there's pants and skirts and all sorts of fun things. I'm like, I'm going to have way too much fun in this. So
right? You're going to it's almost like TikTok. It gets you taken away, right? For hours. It's like, what can I add? What can I do, right? What can I create?
Especially because it's drop ship. So I don't have to worry about it. All I got to do is design and play with it. So the only bad thing about it is like now I'm definitely going to be spending a lot more money in art just because I really enjoy having my character art and haven't been able to kind of blow this up and express it to people. So yes.
Oh, so you mentioned character art. So what is that about, DC?
Usually I have, depending on what I'm working on in my book, I will have commissioned different arts from artists, depending on the scenes. I have one of the things I'm going to be doing is I have a Patreon. I don't think I told you that. So I have a Patreon.
No.
I do. I have a Patreon account.
I didn't find that.
I need to see, I'm failing at advertising my Patreon. So I have a Patreon account. One of the things, it has a tier specifically for the podcast. So that's one of the things we're trying to definitely promote. So the Patreon is very close to podcast, but it's also very book related. So you can pick any tier. I think I have like 5 or 6 you can pick. And one of the things I'm going to be doing here in the summer is I'm going to do a Patreon drive. So if we hit, so my goal is to hit, I think right now we're like 27. I think I want to hit like 50 members. And a year and a half ago, I commissioned an artist. So his name is Chris Wild West. Amazing. To do, for anybody who's curious and is kind of insane, I wanted to do The Last Supper, but with my characters. It's amazing. It is amazing. It is pretty big, substantial. So one of the things is if we hit this milestone, all of my patrons are going to get a print of this. Like, so I need to make sure they're all going to get it so they can definitely have it in their house. So that's kind of the fun thing about it is, what do you do with this art and how do you like take full advantage of it? So I have art commission about ISIS, we have Death, we have Constantine. So usually it's fun to see what different creatives can think of when you give them the description of your characters. I'm like, what did you think and how do you bring them to life? So it's usually a lot of fun. But yeah, so they will be getting definitely like The Last Supper intern style. So it's super insane.
Oh, wow. So we have a question that came in for you about the art. Are you looking for artists? How does that work? How does that program all work?
It depends. I actually just finished getting art commissioned. So at this point in time, I'm not. So depending on what am I working with in a new project, I think I had art recently commissioned for my zombie apocalypse one. I have a zombie apocalypse one and I needed a scene. One of my editors said, it would be amazing if you can get this scene in a t-shirt. And it's literally her drinking, I think she's like sunbathing and she has like zombies cutting grass. So I have a couple of that. So right now, depending on the project, I tend to commission it. I usually do Instagram or Facebook in terms of searching for artists, and I have people recommend me artists as well.
Yeah, I remember us talking about one of your books where someone was drinking tea and they were ordering the zombies to cut the grass.
Yes.
I remember that from our last tea time.
I did get that actually piece design, so it's really, really fun to watch it. So yes.
Oh, awesome. I'll have to check that all out. You'll have to send me all that good stuff. So I did find that you have your books. So how many books do you have now in total, DC?
I have written right now 19. I think I'm working. I think if you're looking at Amazon, you're probably going to get 18. I am considering, and this is one of those big considerations because time is of the essence, is trying to do a Kickstarter. So I think I'm going to relaunch my middle grade series, which is Another World again. So I do have the covers, and the covers are absolutely gorgeous. but it is trying to say I'm making a relaunching. So that's the only one you're not going to find available on Amazon. Everything else you can. And it's a combination of, this is how my mind functions. You get some urban fantasy, you can have some kids book, and you can have some devotionals. I cover it all.
Wow. So have you ever done the Kickstarter for any of your books, or is this going to be the first time?
This will be the first one. I have not done a Kickstarter. I am working on one with one of my dear friends for next year, and we're looking at doing a Kickstarter to actually do writing classes.
Ooh.
So that's something that we're getting ready to do in probably January. So that will be something people get to start seeing.
So you're going to run that right off of Kickstarter, the writing? Oh, well, that's cool. I'm finding so many rabbit holes tonight with you.
Oh my gosh. Hence the reason this is a year of exploration. I am working more this year on anthology. So I'm doing tons of short stories because I have all these little pieces running around. So probably full novel, probably next year, unless I do this Kickstarter, because then I'll do book 2 in that trilogy. So
have you done any anthologies this year?
Can I tell you, I just released one and forgot about it. Just don't tell my best friend. She's like, what? I was like, I knew it was coming out, and then I forgot the date. And then she tagged me, and I was like, oh, that was today. And she's like, girl. I was like, I'm sorry. That came out. So yes, High School is Hell just came out for Valentine's Day. Super fun. It is a young adult paranormal fantasy collection. It is incredible. This is definitely a little darker than I'm normally used to. You asked about the darker. It is high school students that, how can I say, high school is intense, and she has been dumped, and she wants to scare off the other girl, and it just doesn't turn out the way she thinks. So my editor, she's like, I laughed, I cried, I snorted. What is going on here? She's like, this is probably my favorite. I was like, aw. So yeah, so this anthology is out now. It's actually a limited collection, so it's only going to be out for 90 days. Oh. And it's super fun. It's amazing authors in this collections, and every time I think about it, I just giggle. It's like, really? We do this for Valentine's Day? She's like, yes. I was like, okay, I'm in.
And that's so cool, because sometimes we have so much on our plate that we do forget things. You know, it's not because we don't want to forget. It's just we have so much. Because I've seen you back in October, and we're only in March. So that's only like 6 months. And look how much you've done in 6 months.
And it's interesting because I have a list and I feel like I'm getting nothing done. And I know things are coming off this list, but I think it's just trying to get things in order. Because I honestly was tracking this anthology releasing end of February. And then I was like, oh, no. This is a Valentine's Day anthology. So I'm switching gears. I have a couple more. I have a mermaid anthology that is coming out in May. I know. So there's tons of stuff all over the place. So probably this is the year of anthologies for me. Just because they're shorter, they're fun. They're really kind of get me to think differently of projects without having to commit to a whole entire process of developing a novel. So it's kind of interesting.
Well, and you get to meet different people too.
It's fun. Yes, it's so much fun. You get to see how different people work. I'm playing with Vella for anybody who's into Kindle Vella. So right now I have one story going on that is getting ready to finish hopefully next couple months. But it's Divine Pursuit. So for anybody, because I write quirky, you guys should know this by now. So I have a pair of angels that were guarding the gates of hell in Texas. So it's going to put it that way.
Oh, we're going to put them in Texas. That's where the quirky comes in.
Listen, one of the many gates. I figured there'll be tons of gates everywhere. And they decided to, after 800 years, they got kind of bored. And I'm blaming tamales because, I don't know, there was tamales there and they decided to experiment. And a whole bunch of demons got out. So you get a whole bunch of them trying to fight their way back, trying to get them. So if anybody's on Kindle Vella and wants to kind of get a taste of this madness, check out Divine Pursuit. Super fun.
So we have another question here for you, DC. Yes. What have you learned about yourself writing in anthologies?
To be much more concise. I think that's kind of the part. I am not allowed to go down rabbit holes in an anthology. I think that's the easiest way to looking at it.
Oh, that makes sense.
It's, to me, anthologies are a way to focus my writing craft, because usually they're between 8,000 to 12,000 words. So you're looking at a very short submission. It's a way to truly say, here's what you got to say, and every word has to count. And I'm usually I'm not the writer that's going to give you tons of description. So I'm going to get right into the meat of it. One of the ones I did last year, we did one for Hispanic Month here in the States. So it came out in September. And it was specifically based on a large Dominican family. So normally I would have done something paranormal. This one was straight fiction. And one of the comments for the reviewer, she's like, there was too many people, I got lost. Well, I have a large Dominican family. Too many people will get you lost. Then I had to realize, okay, I'm excited because it translated really well to what a Dominican family would look like. Probably too many characters because it was very too much of too much. So I was like, okay, lesson learned. Even though it really related to the essence of what the heritage meant, it was probably a little bit more chaotic. They're like, I had fun. They're like, I don't even remember if we had any sex. I'm like, it didn't. Trust me, it didn't. So,
see, and there we go with it. We had the guest this afternoon who had the magical sex. See, the sex is here, the magical, the fantasy, the love, the romance. It all flows today. The tea is just really flowing together.
uh-huh.
So we have another question here for you. You see, they want to know, what was your favorite book to write out of all of the 19? And this question is hard for a writer because we don't want to put one above all of the others, right?
So here's the weird part, and it always sounds like a cop-out. Usually your favorite one is the one you're working on, or like the one you're truly immersed in, just because that's the one you're really thinking about it. Like that's where your mind is, where the universe is. I can tell you which one is probably my most memorable because it was probably the hardest one to write because it didn't want to come. And it's like the novella for Constantine, like the origins of Constantine. I am a plotter. I have to have an outline. My outlines are fairly detailed. I know where my books are going to go. Like I have been thinking about this months before I even write it, not years. I know this path. I had this outline because Constantine free. If anybody is interested in looking for the ebook, check it out. It's free. So I wanted this to be like really fun. And I had this idea of this underdog or undercat story. It takes place in ancient Egypt because Constantine is giving you his story. So I wrote this story, and midway through, this entire story shifted. Like everything, I ended up having to rewrite my outline as I was writing the story because I'm like, and I kept sending messages to my editor. I was like, I don't know what's going on. This cat's not working with me. This is not the story that I write. What is going on? I normally don't write romance. This is definitely a bromance. This is a straight bromance to the core. My best friend sent me a message because he's rereading the books. He's like, I'm a couple of chapters in and I'm getting teary-eyed. What are you doing to me? I was like, welcome to the world of Constantine. Like this cat is just that, just extra. So Constantine has always been that story that I had to struggle. Like I felt like I was holding on to the page instead of writing. It was just kind of like the words would come and I'm like, this is not the story I wrote. What is going on? So I hope that helps.
So, and we have a question here. Who is Constantine? I'm guessing they're just tuning in for the first time. So they want to know who Constantine is.
So Constantine, back there. So Constantine happens to be a 5-dozen-year-old talking cat. Let me just put it that way. Somebody asked me if Constantine has been a cursed man that got turned into a cat. Nope, just a cat. And if you ever had a cat, you know they're evil and conniving. And Constantine, I usually say, is like the combination of my real cat and my mother mashed into one, because they're the only ones that can boss me around as well as they do. So Constantine happens to be the trainer for the intern. So he works for death. And Constantine has more money than God. So 5-dozen-year-old knows everyone, can do anything, and pretty much doesn't care. So Constantine was this strange character that has become a life of his own. I tell everyone I have readers. Constantine has fans, and his fans send him mail. Like I got a letter in the mail, which was beautiful, from a reader in England, and it was addressed to Constantine and his human. And I was like, oh, like I got downgraded. Like, so yes. So Constantine is snarky, sarcastic, and pretty much probably the most loving little character people adore. And if you sign up for my newsletter, the second Saturday every month, Constantine's going to send you a mail. So you're going to get the Chronicles of Constantine. And he's going to give you, at the end of the day, his top YouTube picks. So we do lots of research on what's hot videos on YouTube so we can tell Constantine. So yes, every month I get to write from Constantine's perspective. And it's usually funny because it's usually me yelling. It's usually Constantine yelling at me because I'm not writing. Wow. Somebody actually pointed it out. It's like, you do know every newsletter is Constantine telling you that you need to write. I was like, No, I didn't realize that. I'm like, yes. Every newsletter is constantly going, and DC's not writing this week. I was like, ouch. What am I telling myself? So yes, it's been kind of fun.
So we have a question here from a 12-year-old. What book would you recommend for me to read?
Depending if you, I will honestly recommend Desk Intern, believe it or not. It is the first one in this series. I have 8th graders that have read it and really enjoyed it. And it is first person, so it's from the perspective of ISIS. So language is fairly appropriate. One of the things that I have really, really proud of is that parents have asked me, like, is the rest of the series going to be like this? Or is it going to get hot and steamy? I was like, no. So if you stick to the novels, they're very age appropriate. So Desk Intern is usually what I recommend.
And she wants to know, can she get any of your books in schools?
Depending where you're at. I think you can request them. So my books are now, believe it or not, the Intern Diary is on hardback. So if you ask your librarian, they can request it because Amazon does have the extended program. So your school librarian can actually order them. So yes, that would be a question. You just got to tell your librarian.
Well, that's pretty cool. And it's pretty cool. Thank you for tuning in.
No, thank you. Oh.
It's always nice when we know that the children are listening, right?
So yes, you can definitely ask your librarian. It is now on hardback because that was one of the questions librarian has asked is, can you make them hardback because paperbacks don't last? And they can actually order them. And I think they get it at a discount if I'm not mistaken. So yes.
Oh, awesome. That is incredible. And that's pretty incredible that we have a little 12-year-old listening to Tea Time. So that is cool. So I want to get into your one word that you gave me. You gave me the word loyal. So why did you give me that word for? To describe yourself.
Did I give you loyal? You have amazing memory.
I got my books. I got my notes.
I'm so impressed. I'm trying to think how loyal. Usually when I think of loyal, is loyal to my tribe. And I'm very, very blessed for it. And my tribe grows every single day. It is usually people who truly believe and dream and want to see the arts grow. So I'm very, very blessed to have that. So and I try to be as authentic as I can with them. And I try to maintain authentic with both how I bring myself to the page and as well as authentic as how the characters express themselves. So I try to be loyal to my characters and to my readers. So I think that's the best way to describe it.
Well, and I think you're really kind of loyal to Constantine, right? Like
he does his own. I don't think I have a choice there. I have nothing to do with this.
So when I asked you your favorite color and you gave me purple, why purple?
Mm-hmm. I have no idea. I have done purple since high school. It has been my color. As an adult, believe it or not, I'm finally embracing it and wear it more often because for the longest time, it's such a bold color that I never, I was always very afraid to wear bold colors. I always wanted to blend into the background. Can I say that? I've always wanted to just kind of be like a wallflower. And everybody reminds me, is like, you can't. That's not going to happen. So I'm now embracing very bold colors. I'm embracing just the loud hair. It's just all over. And just kind of becoming very much into this. Like, okay, just embrace who you are and just go with it. So purple has been a color all my life. I just never used it enough. I think that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, purple is a pretty empowering color too, right? It stands for royalty and loyal. Mm-hmm. And I think that's maybe where the loyal comes in, is the purple.
It kind of plays with each other. I have always loved it. I finally have it as part of my logos. You can see it. There's a lot of purple on all my stuff. So it's one of those things that everybody just go with it. I'm like, I'm going to embrace it. I haven't done it before, but if you always want to just kind of blend in, I think the very introvert side of me wants to just kind of be like the writer that hides in the house. The other side is like, just let it all out, girl. It'll be okay.
So we have a question here from a 17-year-old. They want to know, have you ever spoken in the high schools?
I have. I've done a lot more locally here in Texarkana, but yes, I love talking in schools and I also love motivating a lot of young adults. So one of the things that I realized is when I was growing up, there was nobody that looked like me, or there was nobody that was writing. Let's be honest, I can run. I used to run. Other than that, I am officially fully clumsy. Like, I don't want anything flying at me. I can't catch. I can't throw. I'm just not that kid. So it was not something you saw when I was growing up. I didn't have writers. I didn't have creators coming into me. So if I can actually just motivate any young adult or any youth to actually see themselves and truly see themselves as great, to know they're meant for greatness, to know that they're here to empower and to embrace their quirkiness and embrace all the things that make them unique. It's amazing, because sometimes I think we want to assimilate so bad that we forget that, if we all look the same, this would be a really boring world.
And we have another question here from a 21-year-old. We got some young ones tonight that are tuning in. She's a mom of one, and she wants to know what book you would recommend for her to read at the age of 21 from your collection.
For my collection? So as a mom, believe it or not, I would say read, here's a disclaimer. If you don't like fantasy, because I usually tell everybody, if you don't like fantasy, check out Cat Lady. Cat Lady is that book that usually a little older kind of tends to get it, is that book that tells you, what will you do for the people that you love? This is it. What will you sacrifice? What are you willing to do? Sometimes, as sad as it sounds, we're not going to fight hard enough for ourselves. But when it comes to our family, woof, we go into the mats. Everything's coming down for the people that we love. So 21, definitely check Cat Lady. If you honestly enjoy fantasy, honey, go down the rabbit hole. Check out Death's Intern, because you're going to love it. But if you like fantasy, because I tell everybody, if you don't like fantasy, don't pick up that series, because it doesn't get any better. Like, it's just the fantasy progressively gets bigger and bigger. You're just going down into a crazy path. So yes.
Well, that's really cool. And I like that you have the different range of books for different ages as well. So for anyone under the age of 6, do you have a book out there?
Yes, but if you're very, very young, I would recommend reading it with a parent. Check out Charlie's Fable. So I got an email this week and last week. A young lady in Africa had actually bought a book, one of my books. They got Dare to Believe, and they asked me, hey, do you have a PDF? I got your book. I can't download it in my country. So we went back and forth, and then she sent me the explanation, and I cried. I literally read this email, and I'm sitting here crying, because she said, I'm going through a lot. I'm looking for God-bearing people. I'm looking for all these things, and I felt this message in my soul that said, Dare to Believe. And I did a Google, and your book came up, and I was like, okay. She's like, and I think this is what God is asking me to read, and I'm just wanted to let you know why I picked up your book. And I literally was like, oh my God. Like, such a moving, we tend to forget that you're going to connect with people everywhere. We tend to forget that your books are going to reach people that you have never imagined. So I literally, I was just in tears today. I was like, she didn't have to say it. So the fact that she did was amazing. And the fact that this book connected, and that she felt called to get it and reach out to me and say, thank you. I'm going to give this a try and go down this road with you. So to let me be part of her transformational journey was amazing.
Yeah, and truly. And it's nice that, that people find our stuff just out of the blue, right? They Google, and then all of a sudden, poof, and we're like, oh,
and you're there.
Right? How did I get there?
I ask that question all the time. It's like, how did you find me? But yes.
Yeah, I ask that all the time. Like, where did you get me? How did you find me?
But we're here.
So I want to get into the podcast. Our time is just running by so fast tonight. And we have a couple of questions about your podcast. So what age range is your podcast, and what is it about, and how can they tune into it?
Podcast is available anywhere that you love podcasting. So everywhere from Apple Podcasts. It's actually on my YouTube page. You can pick it up there. You can check it out on my Facebook page. It's called Inside the Minds of Authors. So the reason why I started this podcast is, let's be honest, when I started writing, and when I started publishing 6 years ago, oh my God, it's been such a long time, I couldn't find anybody who wanted to talk to me. Let's be honest. Nobody wanted to talk to this little indie author that nobody's ever heard about this book that made no sense to nobody. It's based on the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse with a talking cat. What? Girl, please. So I got a whole bunch. I even tried to book a blog tour. Nobody wanted to hire me. Nobody wanted to do anything. So I understand how hard it is, especially if you're trying to get your word out, to get into a podcast. So I wanted to have something the authors can talk. Here's what I realized really much so is everybody has a talk show about books, but we have no common language. So the difference with this one is the first 5 to 10 minutes is you actually get to have the writer read the book. So they'll pick, well, we're going to have a discussion about this book that nobody's ever heard about. I was like, let's all hear you. Tell me about it. So usually they'll pick whatever their favorite chapter. They'll introduce it. So you get a taste of their writing. You get a taste of what they enjoy. And then you get to hear them and their words and how it feels to be in their side. Some authors have done 30 seconds. Some authors have done, 10 minutes. I have everything from nonfiction to fiction. I have New York Times bestsellers to new and up-and-coming authors who just published their first book. So if you're looking forward, you can pick it up anywhere. You can actually pick it up on my website. So if you're not sure where to find it, just go to my website. There's an entire collection. We officially are at episode 132.
Wow.
I know. I literally, so it's been a minute. It's been a minute of podcasting. It's been a minute of definitely, I'm now officially way too busy. So my editing has been outsourced because I can't get it all done. They're live every Monday. February started with 13 back-to-back episodes because I like to torture myself. So it was a lot. So you can pick it up. It is so much fun. Everything from children's authors to you name it. I think the one coming up on Monday at 7:30, he is an instructor. He was actually teaching creative writing at a jail. So this is the writing and combinations of all these people and their inmates. So he reads a couple of chapters. I was going to have you tearing because I was like, oh God, that's a lot. So yeah, so you get some chapters. We started the month of February, one specifically on women's health and how women get misdiagnosed. So imagine that. So you go from fantasy to health to finance to everything in between. So there's something for everyone. So you can't miss it.
So we have a question here about children's books. What would you recommend the guidelines, where to find the guidelines to write a children's book?
So for anybody, do a lot of research. So children's books are kind of tricky because they're only about 32 panels. So think about the time, like kind of the space, and they're only 800 words. Hence the reason a lot of children's books are like ABC kind of thing, because what you're trying to do is incorporate the visual with the words without kind of copying them, if that makes any sense. So you're looking at what's the age you're trying to range, what is the message you want to convey, and a lot more in terms of, do you want a full panel? Do you want a small picture where you're going to put the words? So I'm now working on formatting my own books because obviously I have nothing better to do with my life. But my children's book, I have a formatter that does all of that, just because you have to be able to incorporate the pictures. You know, are you going to draw it yourself or are you going to hire somebody? Because at the end of the day, it still has to be information that, depending on your child, can get. One of my friends had her 3-year-old, you know, she had the book, and it was beautiful because there's a page where they're making fun of them. And, you know, there's Charlie and there's all these faces, and the child truly could understand. It's like, oh, they're being mean to him. And I was like, they got it. Children have this amazing ability. So do a couple Google search. Just be aware that it's only 800 words. So it's really, really condensed. And you're looking at 32 pages. So it is fast and furious.
So how long was your longest writing book? I'm guessing how long they're asking how long it took you to write your longest book.
Okay, how long did it take me? So I'm a weird writer because I do a lot of plotting. So I guess if you're talking physical writing, probably 2 months, but I write a chapter every night. So it's a little different. So I don't know when we're looking at longest writing in terms of like the whole process. Are we talking about when I started brainstorming this? I usually brainstorm several books at a time. So by the time I start writing, the whole story is already formed in my head and it's already been outlined. So it's a little different. I don't know if that helps, but if you're looking how long is the longest book, I think my longest book in terms of a word count, not so many pages, probably about 85,000 words.
Wow. That's a lot.
It is actually it's on the medium side, if that makes any sense. So yes, for a fantasy book is right on like the sweet side. It's a lot of high fantasies will be like 120,000 words. So yeah.
Yeah. So the question that they wanted to know was how long the process of the whole beginning to the end.
Oh, okay. So my whole entire process, for my very first book, the entire process, I want to say probably took me about 9 months. From the time that I started brainstorming the idea, that I started kind of playing with it and truly doing a lot of research and figuring out how to write a novel. What is a novel supposed to consist? How many words do I need to have? Plotting and then writing. So it took me about 9 months. Some people write a lot faster. Some people don't. It depends on it. I think that's just a very personal stage for everyone.
And we have another question. 3 tips on writing children's books.
Find an illustrator that you enjoy and that you can work with that actually matches your style. So be very much aware that it's going to take longer than you expect, because while you have a short story that you can knock out within 2 months and get it very, very, very polished, here's the reality. Your illustrator is going to take them some time. So be very prepared. Make sure that you understand if you're going to be going traditional, they're going to hire somebody. If you're doing it yourself, put some money in the bank because illustration costs a lot of money. So you want to make sure you plan accordingly. And then really figure out what your message is at the beginning. Like, what is it that theme you want to try to get? So if you can have your message as well as who your demographic is, it's going to come across.
And we have some, wow, thank you. You're amazing. I want to check out more of your books. And do you have any future books in the works for 2023?
So I'm definitely doing one. That has been the goal. So I am trying to figure out which one would that be. So it is either Cat Lady 3, because it might be in the making, or you're going to get Deployed, which is the last book in the Traitors, in the Assassin series. So you're going to get one, unfortunately, every time you start writing. So here's a tip for everyone. If you're trying to figure out what to write and you never have an idea, don't worry about it. Start writing anything. That's when all your ideas come. And they come all at once. And you're like, well, that's great. Now that I'm busy. It's like going out on a date and having somebody else hit on you. It's like, really, I have things to do. Please, calm down. So I am officially realizing, I was like, it's been that decision of what is probably the next book, the next novel, let me put it this way, is going to be released probably this fall. I'm finally committing to the fact, I'm like, no, this is a fall project. So in terms of what I want to write, I'm going to definitely have a couple of anthologies, working with one of my dear friends in terms of we're thinking a quarterly, maybe a semi-annual anthology collection. So you guys are going to see a whole bunch of those projects coming up. But full novel, I don't know yet. It's kind of one of those. Here's the fun part is because all these stories are already in my head. I know where they're supposed to be going. The question comes back like, who did you commit to? Like, this is a relationship. Like, who am I committing to for the next year?
Who's got my heart first?
Who do I really love so much that I'm committing to? I don't know yet. I might just start throwing stones. I think I'm going to do a TikTok of trying to pick, and I should be like throwing like, which one goes in the basket.
Awesome. So any final words before we wrap up your tea time? We've already got to an hour, and the questions are just flowing in. I really want to thank all of the supporters that are turning in tonight and all these incredible questions from the youngsters. I love when the youngsters come to us and ask us questions because that's how you learn. So any final words, DC, before we wrap up?
Honestly, thank you, everyone. Miss Liz, thank you, because it's always a pleasure. It's been such a blast. If you're trying to figure it out, if you should write, if you should live in the arts, or if you should take a leap of faith, please do it. Life is really, really short. I spent way too many years of my life being miserable because I wasn't living my purpose. I wasn't living a creative life. And everything just looks so much depressed. Everything just looks so dark. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm not saying you're not going to have to work, but it's going to be worth it. So if anything you can take from me today is follow your dreams. Give yourself permission to take a leap of faith. Give yourself permission to enjoy your journey without having to try to monetize it. You don't have to publish because you want to monetize it. You can just do it because you love it. You can just do it because your soul needs it. I don't know what I would do if I wasn't writing, because I think my soul would bleed, because this is one of those things that keeps me sane. So if you can take anything today, it's just follow your heart and give yourself permission to dream.
Awesome. And it was a pleasure having you back. I love updates because the ice is already broken, right? So I already know my guests. So I want to give a special shout out to Mickey Mickelson from Creative Edge, who has given me DC twice. So thank you again, Mickey, for this incredible interview. And thank you again, DC, for all the incredible stuff that you're doing for children's books and the writing and the different styles. I love that you're going all over the place. So I want to really thank you for that. I want to thank the viewers and listeners out there for your support, because without your support, Tea Time would not be what it is. And you just never know who's watching. I've done this this year. There's a lot of different changes. So you don't see the questions coming into the studio because I have it so that people can send me directly to the questions. So this way there's more monitoring, because we've had a lot of trolls and stuff like that. So if you're wondering where those questions are, they are there. They are mostly coming in from Twitter. So Twitter is really hitting us big time this year. So if anybody wants to try a new platform, check out Twitter. Twitter is really hitting good with some good questions. And there's a lot of publishing there and books and that.
Nice.
So I want to thank everyone again, and thank you for tuning in for 3 live shows today. We will be back next Thursday with 3 more shows. And this month, you will see a lot of different topics, a lot of education. So if you want to bring your journals and you want to grab a cup of tea, grab them. If you want to throw in your questions, you're more than welcome to. So until then, I will see everybody next Thursday, 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 7 p.m. And I want to wish you all a good night. And thank you again, DC, for a beautiful reunion.